We have Ahmed on. Good evening, Ahmed.
Good evening.
All right. Any questions on the agenda? We'll be following the agenda that Amanda emailed out 3 days ago.
I didn't know that was in there. I was looking for that, I'm sorry. It's amazing, I find things every once in a while.
It's like treats.
I know, that was old, like a year old.
Review and approve our last set of minutes. On this one, Ahmed didn't take minutes. He asked me before the budget hearing. Did Misty take minutes that night? That was our last meeting, correct?
Yes, she did. I believe she did.
Yes, you would have. I don't think I've seen them yet. I haven't seen them. That doesn't mean she didn't send them out, but I haven't seen them.
I haven't seen him.
I've been in so many meetings, I don't even know what one that was.
It was a joint meeting, and it looked like she was taking minutes, so I assumed it was taking minutes, but, you know, I mean, it really was a joint meeting.
Oh, the budget
We have
hearing.
the recording to fall
Oh,
back
yeah,
on,
we have
so
the recording.
we'll get some minutes before our next regular meeting to finalize. I'll ask Misty for minutes from the budget hearing.
Oh,
Okay, moving on to number 2, review the outcomes of the hearing and prepare for the deliberative session. The floor is open. Any committee member like to start off on that list? We should review how deliberative will look.
So seeing as I got nominated to present, because nobody else felt comfortable. I figured I'd probably also present for the school board, okay?
Thanks.
And so I reached out to the administration, to see if we could work together on a deliberative session presentation. Can you send that one over to Chris? And I'll send this one, these this way. I only have 3 because it's just for you to just, flip through to see if you have any comments. Believe me, the numbers aren't right, okay, because I stole some content from that different, so I don't need one.
This is a slideshow.
Yeah, it's a PowerPoint presentation that we were looking at doing. So actually,
This,
yes, you as the chair, yes, yeah.
thank you.
Because in there, there's a few, once we have it put together with the numbers.
I'll write draft.
Yeah, that's fine. Once we have it put together with the real numbers, I will send it out to the budget committee for review, and I hope that we're shooting for Friday afternoon, but if not, it will be Monday. Okay, so you'll get to see it on Monday before it goes before the voters. And then if you have any comments or questions, then we can get ahead of at least the committee's questions or comments, okay? So there's a couple, so the participants in putting the budget together is really threefold, right? It's the administration who starts it, and then it's the budget committee and the school board. So we've put in a slide for each one of those entities or, groups, so that we are hoping that each one of the groups would make, a comment or series of comments. And a lot of ours, I think this year on that would probably be the challenges, right, that we've been faced with, amongst everything. So I think our hope was that, the committee members think about what you would like to say, maybe in a 1 or 2 sentence statement as a representative from your town about the process. And then send that to Gabe so we can incorporate it into that slide. I asked that the school board do the same thing, kind of like what our process was, about the budget building and everything this year. So that there would be one from the administration that just shows their time frame in their process, and then ours, and then the school boards. Yeah.
When for a timeline is good to expect.
If we could get that by
each-
Monday, that's fine, because we can pop it in.
And then I can
You can send it over and we'll
allow,
collaborate with each one of your, because I figured you, as a chair, can collaborate with each one of the individual members and it's not running afoul, right, of the rules. And then you could compile the information and then just send it to me or Lori and we'll put it in.
right, does any member have an issue communicating through email with this?
No, it's just for you.
Just to him, just
To
to
me,
him,
and
yeah.
I'll cut and paste directly, I wanna get your words right. And then this is something that I will read at deliberative session?
No, we'll put it right into the PowerPoint on like, I think it's the third or fourth slide in. Again, those numbers aren't right, so don't, that's just like,
Just look
this
at
is
the
for
format.
content and
Yeah.
format. We put them right into the slide, so
Okay.
we won't read them, but they'll be a part of the historical data, right? And, if 3 or 4 or 5 of the members have the same, I think, and it's up to the committee to vote on how you want it to look. I think that as, you know, as we know, not all of us were in concert on what the decision was. And so we're all from different, representing different groups. So I think that I personally, as only one member, think it's important that if you have a statement that you want included as a member of the committee, that it should be included in your own words. You know, because we could very easily on that slide, you know, just put in the middle, you know, budget committee, and then put little bubbles, you know. And the names don't have to be attached to the bubbles if you don't want your name attached, but I mean, you know, if you want your name attached, we put the bubble up and we just put, you know, Jamie said this, you know. Chris's thoughts for that, Amanda's thoughts for this, you know, Steve's thoughts for this, whatever the thought is about, you know, and it can be anything that you think like challenges, what could be done better, you know, whatever the statement you want to make about this year's process, right?
Jamie,
Yeah,
on that slide, the planners, you just started putting things.
yeah, we just started putting
Yeah,
things in.
yeah, they're not everyone.
No, not everybody's in there. So Lori will put all the planner people in. I just kind of put a few just so she got the idea of,
Yep.
you know, what we are looking at. When we do presentation up north, we put the planners in. We put everybody who had a direct hand in what was going on, in the slide deck.
Would it be wise to give any member who wants to make that statement the microphone? If
Sure.
they would like to read their statement into the record?
Absolutely, yeah, I mean, there's nothing, we can do it any way you want to do it, right?
Okay,
And that's early in the presentation, so we could absolutely, like, when we get to that slide or just past the players slide, when we introduce all of the different groups, you know, maybe as we introduce the budget committee members, we can have the microphone and you can, you know, say whatever. It's however you want to do it. If you don't want to speak it into record, then you could simply have it will be memorialized in the PowerPoint. I'm going to ask for the PowerPoint to please be up on the website, you know, as soon as we're all like, oh man, it looks okay, great, let's move.
any questions so far for Jamie?
No, just to recap, we're looking for statements about the budgetary process to include, challenges, things that went well, whatever you really want to say
Whatever,
about
yeah.
the process that we went through this year, because that was one of the questions that was at the hearing that, I think that would be good to kind of go up front and address, so.
Absolutely, yeah, and I mean, it's no secret that it was painful, right, this year, that there is not a secret. Where all of our meetings are open and taped and, you know, whatever. And so I think that specifically also because we're not in total agreement that it's important for people to be able to express, you know, concerns, if there's any kudos, whatever, right? Whatever it is.
I think this has the potential to instigate a very positive discussion in the room, in the auditorium. If
Yeah.
we can set the tone with
Yeah.
our remarks, and the meeting will go from there.
Right, because you can make comments that maybe aren't flattering, but you can do it in a manner that's respectful.
Yep.
Right? And so I went back, and even though I wasn't there for the entire budget hearing, I apologize. Next year, I really hope that our dates get different between the two. I went back and listened to a lot of what the questions were that the public brought up. And so I want to try to address what their questions were for content, at least in some manner, through the use of all the slide decks. So if it looks like it's a long presentation, it may be a bit of a long presentation. I mean, 40 slides, will take, you're gonna spend a minute each at least, right? And so I think it's a rebuilding year, hence the cover. I think it's a very important year to not rush through this. And in speaking with Lori, the BA, she agrees. And we kind of chatted about, because let me tell you, not all school districts do it the same way, which is interesting to me, because I always thought they did, because my point of reference really was Fall Mountain, right? Not all school districts, the business administrators present the budget. All of mine up north, the school board members presented, which is odd, because I just kind of sit there until there's a question. But I think doing it this year with both of us, right, because she is new and she doesn't know, the folks of the district well. And it's been painful for her too, it's not been, she's made the comment several times that cleaning this up has been difficult. And, and that she hopes it doesn't reflect on what she's seriously capable of. And so in speaking with her, we discussed like what it might look like, and how to be prepared, which she's working on now. We've met and gone through this and made some adjustments, and I'm sure we'll make adjustments again, before you get it in its final draft. So that's the plan. We'll hope to address most of the questions that we've heard, both from the budget committee and from the hearing, from other people who had concerns about different things. There is some information that, a deeper dive takes a lot more time, right? And so, anyway, that's the plan.
One of those examples of a question from the budget hearing was from Mr. Bill Rashansky. I have had a number of discussions with him since then, and he's agreed to hold that line of questioning until after deliberative session, as far as
Deeper dive
the deeper dive in the direction that he was asking
about personnel, yes,
about personnel and getting down to
Yeah.
the signing the paychecks.
yeah, well, that's not the. Okay, there's a lot of different feelings and thoughts on that, right? On what level of detail you get down to. So, and I understand the reason for his question, because I was there on the Saturday morning when we had the discussion multiple times. I get that. I think it's sometimes difficult, and I can only say this, not having come in after Steve, because I was already there for 2 years doing the books that I walked into, right? 3, right? I did the books I inherited, so I knew what they looked like. Going into another school district, not having done that budget, it's difficult when people ask you a million questions, boom, right off the bat about what somebody else did. It's difficult. So, and that's all I can say is, and that's just a perspective from having done it. But point taken that, people have concerns and, it will be a rebuilding year and there will be hiccups.
As a matter of process, when we come to this part of the slideshow, would you like to go first with your comments of how it?
No, no, not at all. No, I'll put mine in print and put it on the page.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. though.
Anybody else who wishes to go?
I think people will be sick of hearing from me. Get through it.
And just a point, I'm not the vice chair of budget.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know. I just know we need to put somebody down.
I haven't asked her if you'd accept the role yet.
Oh, okay, sorry. So we'll fix all that. Okay, like I said, it's a draft. I didn't know. I knew you were doing agendas, so I just,
Yeah, that's fine.
sorry.
Transition,
Yes,
the
absolutely.
rebuilding you.
Yeah, there you go. So I think anybody with any of your thoughts or comments, maybe, chat with Gabe about it and then figure out what you want to do and we can make it all happen.
Yeah, as most of you know, I'm available most days by phone. I'm usually not bothered. I can listen while I operate. So don't be worried about distracting.
The other thing is, and I know I haven't run a print off for each one of you, for obvious reasons, because we've taken these pieces of slides, we didn't want to recreate the whole entire wheel, right? So the data that's in them is old, even though some of the headers have been updated. But if there's something specifically that you all want to see in there that you're not sure may be included, if you want to email me, I will do my best to try to make sure that that content's in. Okay?
And anything we can run through the collective mind, run it through Amanda for word selection and ideas.
Want to? Yeah, I'll help wordsmith. That's what we need.
Well, so, and you can all do that once we get it out to you on Monday. Because Monday will be the latest that we'll have it out to you.
Okay.
Okay, so on Monday, I would expect not so much the warrant article part or even the default part, but the beginning part, I would ask that people would take a look at and just, if you have questions. Again, we don't vet and build every single thing in every line item, but it's good if we all take a look at it and go, well, what about this? I think this piece is missing. Could we add it or whatever, right? Because then we still have the opportunity to get it added and then get it posted for Tuesday.
Cool.
So, okay, we're hoping, like I said, I'm hoping Friday, but I didn't wanna, I know I'm dealing with 3 of my own, so I know how much it takes to get that done.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, no worries.
All right, any questions of Jamie thus far?
I'll throw it out there.
Yeah.
Going back a little bit in time. With the whole issue of the ESSER monies being spent and how it affected everything.
Yeah, the water,
Will that be explained to the voters in the deliberative session?
the trickle down effect of,
You may need to be the one to explain that.
well, no, it would be in our slide deck,
I'm just asking, is it gonna be part of the deliberative?
Yes, it would
conversation
be,
Should be.
It should, yeah, that's what
yeah.
I was trying to.
It
make sure.
should be because there's a slide in the deck
Right,
that is about changes,
right.
right? So that would be one of the major changes. So in speaking with Lori, I had said to her, and we looked at, some of the ways that I have presented slides before, right? And saying that, take all of the changes on the Excel sheet and sort it by the dollar amounts. And I said, anything 25 grand or more, carve that out and let's put that on the slide, right? If you're doing 10 grand, you're gonna get a lot of them, right? Because we have a lot of lines here. But I think for the 10 grand ones, do it in a generality, because most of those are probably, you're gonna pick up on salaries, you're gonna pick that up on the change in benefits, stuff like that. But the larger ones, like the additional stuff, she'll carve that out, because those are changes. Those are gonna be changes both up and down because of cuts of FTEs.
This shouldn't necessarily be done by specific line though. If you're talking about, for instance, adding a position, as you all know, there's 8, 9, 10 lines associated with adding a position.
Correct.
I would have her report the total cost of
Right.
that addition.
Yeah.
And not be worried about a specific line aspect.
I don't know if it's appropriate
Right.
or not at this time, but we recommended, I think, $240,000 roughly of change. But that's not that's just a recommendation. It would be nice to know how that's being addressed within the budget. Where did Lori go to get that
She
money?
put it in this boat into.
Well,
If maybe they adopted our recommendations, I don't know.
I think they adopted the recommendation.
Okay, but that would be nice to know that.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, because that has to be apportioned.
Well, we said when we discussed it about apportioning it
Stick
to
it
the
at
high
6.
school.
Yeah, just
back to the
how
6.
how is that, how did it
Right.
actually get relieved
That's
out of the
fine.
budget?
Was it 240,000?
I'm just rough numbers, 200,000 was one way and
40.
40 from another way.
I think so, yeah.
It could be.
Yeah, as long as, I don't think there were changes made after I got off of the call.
No.
Okay.
The other question I have, it doesn't pertain to the budget committee, but it pertains to the budget hearing. There was a lot of discussion about $190,000. It wound up coming out of the warrant altogether, so that just disappeared. Is that what happened?
Well, it wasn't really in, it's for the North Charlestown
School.
warrant.
All that.
It's not for the budget here, I'm just, well, I have board members in front of me.
So it was in just the information portion,
Right, that's
and it
correct.
didn't need to be,
Okay,
and so it did
It
come
had
out,
already been cut out.
right,
Right.
It was informational in case they wanted to carry it. Because they weren't sure if it was a no vote, whether it had to be restored.
right. And it doesn't appear anywhere. That restoration doesn't appear
Doesn't
anywhere.
and it
Okay, so
won't.
it went
So
away.
if there's a no vote,
We'll move money from other line areas in order to keep the heat on and keep the building safe.
But not 189,000.
But we won't restore students to the building.
whatever we move, we'll adjust apportionment before we submit it.
It's all Charlestown,
Oh, we'll all be within Charlestown.
right?
Oh, okay.
It's Charlestown.
So
and
you'll
Charlestown,
balance the
Charlestown.
budget through your own mechanisms.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all Charlestown.
Okay,
So on that note, this is also not budget committee, but is the school board looking at the deed to that building and whether or not the deed says something different than like a warrant article should?
There is legal looking into
I have the
that.
deed here, if anybody would like to read it. And then I have highlighted in the event that the buildings and land for any cause shall cease to be used and occupied for public educational purposes, the buildings and the land shall revert to the trustees of the Barlow Trust.
Get much clearer than that.
Yep,
yeah.
yeah. And I would say for anybody who has
Does
questions.
it say that on the articles?
Supersedes the articles.
Say it on the.
Does it say it on the articles that we put out for print that people are gonna vote on?
There's only certain things you can put on an article by
Oh,
law.
okay.
You know what I mean?
Misunderstood.
If
So
it's
sorry.
voted down, it
Yeah.
goes to the trustees, not to the town, because town people are asking that.
Right, yeah.
So
Up the
If it's voted
wazoo,
yes.
Yep, the other
because
way.
they don't want it as
The
a
other
tax.
way.
So we
If it's
should
voted yes, it goes back to
absolutely
the trust. If it's voted
speak
no,
to that during deliberative.
Right.
With the warrant
Yeah,
article.
it's gonna come
So
up.
many are like, oh my God, we're inheriting another building in Charlotte. I'm like, no, no. we're not.
So
Can you,
Can-
I'm sorry,
that was
clarify
that.
that? I don't understand. It will not.
But so, lots of community members have been asking me, if
Right.
we close North Charlestown, does the town take it? Because they don't want it.
No,
Right.
I said, no, it goes to the trustees, therefore, when they don't understand, when they're reading that, they're a little confused, what happens? Well, we don't want it, so let's just let the school district keep it. That's what's going on, because there's
Okay.
a
So
lot of confusion,
Okay,
and it needs to be specific.
yeah. So we can check with legal about what wording can go on the article?
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll check that. Or
Well,
did
that's
you
already looking.
Oh, he already did, okay.
Gone to, it's out.
Okay.
So, but we could talk about, sorry, David, I'm gonna interrupt you,
That's
but,
changed.
talk about that at deliberative. to
Yes.
Say, hey, this is what a yes vote means and this is what a no vote means.
Sure, and, yeah, go ahead, Gabe.
And I wonder, especially as Charlestown's representative, if you'd be able to take that on with an explanation, Colin?
I can explain it very simply, yes.
Okay,
So,
Hopefully
so,
not
Go ahead.
emphatically, but.
Well, I
simply.
just wanna make it
It's
clear that it's
a
not a
board
budget
warrant,
committee.
right, it's a board
Right,
Right,
warrant
it's a
article.
board thing.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not a one.
So that is something.
So the Charlestown board
We'll take
member
on.
will
Okay.
do it.
okay, good, we're
Yeah.
clear.
But in the community, you know, being a Charlestown representative, you can put it out there to the
Yeah.
community. I think the confusion stems from, with the withdrawal, where it was talked about how it would go to the town of Charlestown, but in that scenario, the town of Charlestown was who would be responsible for the education of the students.
Right.
And that's where the difference is, which is, the community is very clear. Whoever's in charge of the education of those students has the building.
Right.
Unless that facility.
And let us be clear that the trust is going to take it.
Yeah,
There's
Oh,
no
yeah.
question about
Sure.
that.
I should
That's
hope so,
fine.
it still has
Jamie?
value. I think to that point that we should, as a school board and a school district, we should probably put out something in the newspaper,
Mhm.
you know, just clarifying, you know,
What that means.
what that's about. If there's confusion and we know it, spend the money and put that out very plainly and clearly that.
Maybe a whole separate mailer just to Charlestown.
Yeah, we could do that too, like a postcard mailer as well. Yeah, that's probably not a bad idea, Chris, because you don't want people voting confused. Huh?
Nobody reads the paper.
That's true. Nobody reads the paper anymore.
That cost us, what, a couple thousand for mailer?
Not even, not for a postcard one.
The thing is that the older generation, most of them vote
Yeah,
and they don't understand. what's
yeah,
going on.
yeah,
Right.
sure.
So.
Yeah, so we could do a
Well,
postcard mailer, very
Yeah.
simple.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Or you can use every door direct mail.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Great. Questions?
Everybody feel okay about what's gonna happen on, what's the 7th, right? That's when we have delivered.
Seventh, yeah.
What time do we have to be there? That's the start at 5:30.
Starts at
6, isn't it? You got your thing in the mail already?
no,
Oh.
this is what,
Oh.
Misty sent out,
Oh, I missed it.
6:30. And
So we'll start in this room, call our meeting to order and then move to the
At
auditorium.
6 usually, yeah, I
6.
think so. I think we do that with both, right? Both
Yeah.
board
so
and
we have to be here at 6,
usually.
6 o'clock in the library.
okay,
And
with the
then
candlestick.
with the what?
On process, can
With the.
budget committee members make motions
Yes, you
during the
can,
deliberative?
absolutely.
Good.
Yep. Make sure you have it in writing ahead
Oh,
of
I
time,
will.
makes it way easier, okay?
Yes, it does.
Yes, it does.
And I have spoken with Leroy Watson,
Yeah.
and we are expecting amendments to come before the meeting, so
Sure.
we'll be ready for that with our cards, and hopefully we can
Yeah.
keep it moving along.
Would be no different than any other year. It's the democratic way, right?
Cards.
Yeah, your
so you
voting
vote.
cards,
Little
You
voting
vote.
cards.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
voting cards,
Credentials, yeah.
or 5 people to say they want an Australian ballot.
5 people can request an Australian ballot.
No, they have to be present though,
Mhm.
not just
What's-
5 voters, 5 voters that are present.
What's an Australian ballot?
Paper ballot,
Paper ballot.
Oh, okay.
that's why you get the little paper with the ABCD, whatever,
Got it, okay.
in case,
Never heard of,
oh,
call
we
it
call it
Australia.
Australian ballot, sorry.
How much is your amendment, Chris?
He's not
About
gonna tell.
1.2 million.
Okay, bring it. I think it's great. It's your God-given right. You could have brought it to the hearing if you wanted, but it's better to do the
Should've.
whole room. Why? No, you know what? You get the whole room to vote now,
Right.
so, you know,
And we will fill the room.
that's
No.
fine.
And to be open.
Yeah.
I wrote this to Leroy today. Leroy, I'm gonna try and pull together one of those 5 vote petitions. But I did tell him, I'm not making an amendment. I don't know anybody that's making an amendment, and I haven't seated anybody to make an amendment. I just think it's right that if an amendment comes, that everybody gets to vote without having to show your hand. But I have no intention.
I'll sign it.
Yeah, I have no intention of making an amendment.
I
Okay,
think people
so let's
don't
not
vote
even mess
their-
around with a voice
Right,
vote or
exactly.
show of hands.
People
We can
don't
expect
vote
to
their
go in.
convictions when they have to show their neighbor how they feel.
Exactly.
And I don't ever think it gets counted properly either.
And I always concern about that as well, so.
Yeah.
I'm pretty confident I'll get the 5 signatures
Oh my God.
and,
We had to vote on a $500,000 fire truck in the little village in North Walpole, okay? We needed them, you know, because you don't want to tell the fire marshal, the fire guy, no, I don't want to give you a fire.
And here's my address.
It's fire address.
That happened a couple times with Walpole.
Yeah.
Police matters with the
Yeah,
police
No,
chief
and-
sitting
and-
next to me.
you know, and I know it's a pain and I know it takes longer and I apologize, but I just think, you know, I think it's important to let people vote their convictions.
I think they appreciate the process.
Yeah.
If we, need more room, I'm just.
We
I'm
should
just thinking.
probably speak to Misty and the superintendent and IT about, having the cafeteria set up with, isn't that how you did it
Is
last
that
time?
like, oh no?
With Zoom, right? Didn't they do it with a live feed? Yeah.
Well, we had the gymnasium, the auditorium and the cafeteria at one point,
No, that was for
Well,
COVID.
that was for COVID, but
so it's doable.
it is.
Aren't
Well,
you
why,
happy
why do
with
you
it?
expect so many people to come out?
We just gave them fair warning.
Maybe a $1.2 million cut to a budget, I don't know, just the thought. Of course,
Let's
they
go
didn't
start
come the
with
last
Boston.
time it happened, when they did 900, nobody was there. It's all
What
good.
they have to do is vote no.
What's that?
All
That's
they have
right.
to do is vote no.
I know.
I know, actually, it's more.
It's kind of silly, but it's what it is.
That's all right.
I just urge anyone making amendments that they allow room for a choice on the ballot. That it not be made the same as the default. I will say that to the meeting. I will say it to anyone who asks. I just ask to leave room for a choice, up or down.
so you could get an amendment greater that causes the proposed them to be less than 4.
Sure, but don't make it the same. You learn nothing from that vote.
Well,
True.
we've done it, what, 4 times?
We
right?
have, and it's,
No, but it's a good observation.
Except that in this case, our default,
It's gonna be close.
well, our default prevents us from moving forward with some of the programs we've taken. So even if the two amounts are the same, if we get the default, we lose out on the programs, but if we get the budget that's the same dollar number, we can bring in the new programs that we've asked
You can
for.
move things around, absolutely.
Move things around your way, no?
What's the
I
rule?
think so, it depends on,
I
well,
don't think it matters.
maybe it,
It
is it the
does,
no, what means no because of the new stuff that was put in? Is that what
exactly.
he said?
So if you've got,
I don't know, this determination
I
is
don't think
correct,
that's right either.
but we can look into it.
I'll
That
send
holds
you,
true on a warrant,
Okay.
on a specific warrant. but I
So,
don't think it
yeah,
holds
so
true on the
let's
budget.
look at
I'll
that.
show you
The
the
email?
document from the.
Okay.
New Hampshire
What's-
Municipal.
What's the rule about 10%?
Up or down?
So you can't make an amendment that is more than 10% of what the proposed.
Yeah, but that would be
Is
like
that right?
$3.5 million.
Right,
Okay.
yes, 10% up or down.
and
So
Alyssa
9.9, that's good.
Alyssa
Remember
can
that.
clarify that, if I'm remembering correctly, that if it can be amended by more than 10%.
3.5.
At the meeting, it can be amended by more than 10%, but that's not institutable.
The DRA won't allow any more than that, so you only get, they'll only authorize the 10% and you have to go with whatever that number is.
That's
It is what it is. You want the school district to change immensely, then
What did Newport go through a few years
Croydon.
ago?
Croydon.
Croydon?
That's all.
Cut it in half, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
but they had
oh,
a
is it?
special meeting and the people finally heard what happened and showed up. That's because you have special interests that show up and nobody else shows up until it hurts them. Till all of their sports programs get cut.
We wouldn't, well, the reason they did is they had like 300 voters and they all had to show up. There's no way we would get all our voters to show
half,
up.
half of them have to show up. Half of the registered voters have to show up, and you're right. We have 7,500 registered voters. I can't imagine getting 3,750 of them to show up for something
In
like
each
that.
town.
Last time I saw Walpole turn out 1,000-ish was during the Hooper discussion to sell it.
We had over 1,000 at the partners.
Yeah, but I mean in one location.
Oh, in one location, yeah, yeah.
That thought we were at the gym and the
in person.
Was it Hooper or the Bell?
closing the Hooper and selling.
Oh, yeah, that's right, I remember, I was on
I
that.
got sworn at and called not nice names.
All right,
I remember that, yeah.
anything more on number 2? Amanda?
I don't think so.
Okay, again, don't be shy, okay? If you got thoughts, concerns, whatever, send them so we can, yeah, so we can address them and get them in and changed or whatever.
Me and CCU or all?
Whatever, but I mean,
But Chuck,
for
I'm-
comments, I think they should discuss with you, you're good, I don't need them until they're all together. And then and even if you don't wanna put it in print, that's fine, and if you just wanna read it, I think that's fine too, we just need to, we have our own little page here, right, so it'd be nice to put something on it. And then, yeah, any other things that you wanna be sure are addressed inside the document that you're thinking about, just email me.
I did see something on the Lori's, default thing that was in the.
Yeah.
And I didn't notice Charlestown's listings on them. It was only Walpole's and Viola's that, to create her default budget, she only had Walpole and Viola's listed. Their CIP programs is being taken out and not Charlestown's. I sent her an email to answer that, and she's not replied in the last 5 days, so I'm
Okay,
not sure what's that going on there.
all right, would you CC me, or forward it to me?
Right.
And let
Because I
me,
know there's $114,000 of $10,000 mini splits.
okay, all right, if you forward it to me, Chris, I'll ask the question.
Okay.
While we're building this, okay?
And as part of protocol, that should come through the chair, at least with the CC.
Sure, yeah, so you're aware, because that's what Dr. Spence had asked, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah,
And then
Yeah.
if that concern would come through me, then I can take it to Dr. Spence and Lori with the right timing.
Yeah.
And we can all move forward together.
yeah, we can have the answer before Monday at least, yeah. So forward it to Gabe. Good point of order, Gabe, sorry, thank you. You're right, Dr. Spence asked for one point of contact.
You controls.
But I heard you, so I might, you know.
Yep.
I might off the record ask the question.
But we have to funnel it.
Yeah,
Like a hurricane,
yeah,
like a tornado.
I want to stand in the aisle. Anything more for number 2? Hearing none. We'll move on to number 3, planning for the remainder of the school year. Amanda, can you explain our agenda item, please?
Yeah, sure. I wanted to talk about so we have our meeting tonight. We have the meeting, obviously, we have the deliberative session. And then, last year, we didn't really meet after deliberative and kind of didn't, we just didn't meet. So what do we want to accomplish with the rest of the school year, with the rest of, with the rest of our meetings? I think that part of the observations that I've made, this year is that we should continue to meet. We should continue to ask for documents to see where are we spending money? What does the budget look like on a monthly basis? Where are we? And where are those line items being moved so that we don't get caught with things getting moved that come August, that stuff was moved around that we don't fully appreciate how things got moved and why they got moved. Because that is a lot of catch up that we had to play, which we could kind of prevent us from having to create that catch up session, I guess. So what do we want to do? And then, part of that discussion, which I appreciated the email that Chris sent about, don't talk about, or not don't, but wait until after deliberative to talk about, really looking at our SWOT analysis and, what basically, what did we get this year and what did we want to get and where's that gap and how can we bridge that gap? So I want to talk a little bit about that and then give you everybody a sheet that you can use the sheet or not use the sheet, that's fine, but to kind of jot down some ideas for when we come back and meet. Because I personally think we should meet in February. But so that we can kind of start planning what does next year look like? So we don't have another year like this year. I mean, nobody is in disagreement that this year was really hard. And we didn't get information that we need. And there's lots of reasons for that. And I'm not blaming anybody, but we didn't get the information that we wanted and we didn't get it timely. And it was hard to understand the budget for everybody. So just trying to come up with some ways that, so we don't have to do that again. So.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So at one point you had all talked about creating a list of basically a checklist of questions and documents that you wanted. Is that something you can create early on, shortly after deliberative, so going on into the next year, it becomes your running document of things you're expecting?
Yeah. I believe we can, and I'm not trying to take over and be the boss, but yeah, I think we can.
You would think
Yes,
it'd be easy to do.
yes.
I mean, I believe that would be one of our top priorities, is to get that checklist.
Steve?
I think it's an excellent process suggestion. I just might suggest you wait until after the election, so you're working with the board members you're gonna be working with. There's two of us not gonna be with you. So,
I still value what your opinion on what went well
okay,
and what you, because even though you're choosing not to return, we need to know what you're thinking so that we can take that moving forward.
if you hold a meeting in February, I'll come, barring any conflict, I'll come here.
Thank you.
Yes, the deadline to run is Friday, and I know I'm not running, I don't believe you're running either, so you're gonna have two new board members.
But you don't get,
Anybody?
your term isn't up until after
Till March.
March,
Right.
right?
That's
So
what
I
I'm
am,
saying.
we can still show up in
I
February.
will be here until.
Yeah.
The second Wednesday of
March.
Right.
March. Midnight on that day.
Same here.
That's it.
I just didn't know why you wanted to handle it, that's all.
Yeah.
If you wanna hold a meeting in February, it's
Will
fine.
you
Yeah.
still accept my phone call?
February 20.
Absolutely.
Anytime.
Okay.
Don't laugh. There have been people who have said no.
Okay, so yeah, the next meeting is February 28th,
After delivery.
right? So I don't know, what does everybody else think? Does everybody else think that we want to?
28.
No, I think it's very worthwhile that
Okay.
in
And the
February or
29th
early
is
March,
my
we
birthday.
get brief. And just get some things that I think it's good for. the
Air out the
central
dirty
office.
laundry.
What's that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have a wrap-up meeting and air out the dirty laundry, air it out, and try to get reset the process.
Right, and I think.
We
I think
have
it-
to.
I think it's.
Maybe
beneficial
get some
for
of
the
those
central
big
office
sheets and we can.
To have a checklist of
Brainstorm.
documents, like,
Yeah.
I'll make the recommendation tonight, but. At the close of the books at the end of the school year, you'd have to get an actual versus budget report.
Oh, jeez. That could only happen.
Right at the end of the close of the books at the end of the year, whenever that happens.
So one thing,
August.
9/1.
9/1, okay.
we have a piece of paper for everyone. Amanda made copies.
Yeah.
So maybe under weaknesses,
Is there,
we can, that's the place when we have homework before our next regular meeting.
you
So-
don't
Not
have
yours.
Oh, I know, I've been through lots of SWOT analysis discussions, so
Well,
I
good.
always say I don't have any.
That's cute.
I'm glad.
Thank you.
I'm glad. Okay.
And I am opportunistic,
Yeah.
right?
SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses,
Opportunities. and
opportunities.
threats.
Yes.
Right.
So I'm,
She likes the old school.
Um,
This is opportunities, what?
threats.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on T. There's a couple of different ones you can use
Yeah.
that have different
Right there.
names.
Okay. So, this
This
is how
is
I
for risk
operate.
analysis,
Yeah, it
okay?
is, and that's my background.
Right.
So that's.
I'm
Felt like
very-
I was in an insurance meeting. I
I'm
was like,
very
oh my
well
God, we're
versed
gonna
in
do a
these
SWOT
too.
analysis.
Okay, that's
So-
okay, it's a good place to start.
This is the year of SWATs.
Yes,
I
it
think
is.
this will be the fourth one now.
So, this is how I work as an individual. I like to write things down, and so you could please feel free to use this, don't use this, you can email it, and you can email the whole committee, because we're not gonna have, we're not gonna. I think it's important for communication to email the whole committee, and then if you guys if you wanna complete it and email it to us, or to Gabe, or to whatever, before the meeting, then we can compile the, kind of the themes that are present, and we can start with that, and then we can figure out how we can project it out onto the screen on our next meeting, so that we can, kind of walk through that, and so everybody can see like where we are, and then, that could be the starting point of, okay, we are kind of at the bottom. How do we come up? So. Just my thoughts.
We could add that as a slide, if we had them early enough, but don't have to, maybe we don't want that.
We'll check in with you, any thoughts?
Oh, are you asking me?
Any thoughts, just checking in?
Oh, not at this time, no.
Okay, thank you. And just to clarify, and so we're not funneling that information through me to divulge out to the board, so everyone will do their SWOT analysis email, if you can, before our next meeting, and just send that, email it to the board, to the
To
committee,
the committee,
to
yeah,
the committee.
yeah, to the,
I'll just hand carry mine.
and you can do that
That's
too,
what
and
I'll
that's
do. I
fine.
won't be emailing it, just letting everybody know.
Okay, that works.
And we can just add it to the, so my thought was that we would have a working session, and that we would just
Right.
add it to the slide or whatever, the document in our meeting, and just have that live
Just some
discussion.
big, we could get some big papers and combine them.
So a question for Kyle, what do we need to do that with our available tech?
Just clarifying question. You're asking to take email documentation as well as written paperwork
Yeah.
to combine it into one presentation or one piece.
What I need is just to be able to project onto the screen so we can all see it, and then I can just add to the screen.
You can do that.
It's called share,
Are you doing,
it's a little green share button.
No, not now,
then we're good.
okay.
Next meeting, green
February.
share button for her on the screen.
Okay, we can do that. We can do this.
All right, and I will also, I know that, Ahmed doesn't have this, so I'll send it out via email to everybody with a brief, just reminder of what strengths, weaknesses, opportunity, and threats if we need them. I know we've all done them. So, and even if if it's not called a SWOT, you've done it. You've done it, and,
Different fashions.
yeah, exactly. So. But. That.
Cool. Any questions on item number 3?
So just, we wanna have a debrief, we wanna come up with our checklist to include the actual versus budget report, and then really kind of prompting that open discussion about what went well, where are our areas of opportunity, incorporating SWOT. And we start that on the 28th of February.
You're putting that out as a date,
Yes, or the 27th, whatever the last Wednesday is in
last
February.
Wednesday of
Yeah.
February.
The 27th or 28th.
28?
I don't know. Sure. I think so, yes, because the 29th is my deliberative. and it's
Wednesday.
Thursday, yeah.
Jamie, seeing how you've talked to our VA recently, do we have an inclination of what we have for surplus at this point?
I didn't ask that question. I'm sorry.
For this year.
Yeah, just curious where we are.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure she'll
What?
probably,
Awfully early.
Or whatever our normal.
I'm sure she'll report to the board. The only reason I think we had that conversation at the board,
I mean,
Chris.
6 months.
Well,
3 to
so
5
here's the
months.
problem,
Well,
okay?
yeah.
All right, I'm gonna explain the problem to
Sure.
you. Is that your former administration
Okay.
at central office, what I understand from the presentation that we got at the last meeting and the follow-up questions, had decided to do quite a few different projects and use ESSER funding to try to do that. And Lori's trying to follow through on all that to be sure that everything that was done will still fit the guidelines that
Sure.
the state and feds require in
Mhm.
order for the reimbursement to occur.
Gotcha.
Because if the reimbursement, if we didn't meet those guidelines
Right.
before it happened, they won't reimburse the money. So she didn't want to hang a number out there saying, we've got $1 million, but there's this 500,000 over here. I'm not sure if we're gonna get back.
Right, it's reasonable.
So that's part of the holdup, okay? Is the cleanup on the
Right.
grant stuff
Sure.
before she got here.
Is there an end in sight to
Esther?
the cleanup on the grants?
9/1. Comes crashing.
No. What'd you say?
September, right, is the end of ESSER.
Yes, there is. Yeah, absolutely.
I just feel,
Here's the problem, which unless you've worked in school districts as a business administrator, so I'm gonna like step down from being a committee member and step down from being a school board member. I'm gonna be a BA and I'm gonna tell you that every single day when you're in charge of 4 departments, you are in a multitude of meetings. You are interrupted 65 times for every little friggin' thing that goes wrong. Because they need you to answer it, make a decision, blah, 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 blah. And that's with staff that I've had for 7 years, okay?
Mm.
That's not with all brand new staff in my SAU office, including me being brand new. So, I was emailing at 3 AM this morning. And I've been there 8 years with a staff that's been there for as long as I have. So this time of year and coming into something to try to get your feet underneath you and understand all the moving parts, Fall Mountain's not an easy district.
Mhm.
There's a
and
lot to
my
it.
question was
Yeah.
more of whether we were going to, this was gonna plague us. into-
No, I don't, and neither does she expect that it will either. It's a matter of, I think it's truly a matter of, you're playing catch up, right? And so it's truly a matter of being able to process through all of the pieces that go to each one of these grants, because there's a lot of them, we have a lot of them here.
Mm.
And making sure she's following up with the right, because every grant at the state level has different folks that manage them, depending on whether it's a title grant. We have this slide in our slide deck to talk about other funds, right? The stuff that sits below the general, because that was another big question. People are like, well, what's this other funds and how come the number never changes? And
0.6.
right, well, it's 2 million, right? Over 2 million. So, but the number never changes because quite frankly, right now, we have no idea how much money we're gonna get in 2025 for grant funds. They don't tell you until you apply for them next June. So you don't know. So every year, basically, since I was there, I never changed it either. Go back and look at all mine. We just keep carrying a number that we know is somewhat close to what we actually receive, right? Because you can't spend more than you get. It's a reimbursement program, right?
And you're absolutely right when you talk about it has absolutely no impact on property taxes.
Correct.
Through state. But you do report it on your MS-25 in the state. You
Mhm.
know what that actual number is. I don't really know why the actual column wouldn't be updated.
In retrospect, yes, actual column should be, and we spoke about that when we were talking about the PowerPoint that we want to do. We talked about that specific one, about bringing some more information out about the magnitude, because that number didn't change, right? When it probably should have during ESSER, because we got millions and millions of dollars, right? We got more than 2 million, you got 7, all
No
right,
record,
right? Oh, there's records, yeah,
oh, well, in that format. huh?
right, not in that format,
It's not
so,
what the state knows, 'cause it's
Right.
on the MS-21.
right, but the general Q public who's looking at these documents, you know, and Lori even said that, you know, these documents weren't transparent for the folks here because those numbers never change. And she said, now for me to change them, in order for the default and all these other pieces to be correct, I'd have to go back and change them 2-3 years back.
Right.
And so to do that would only, because we had that conversation, would only muddy it up, you know, even worse. We're gonna speak to it and to what the real numbers actually look like, okay? And explain why it didn't change in budgeting process, which I think moving forward, she's probably gonna try to do, right? As much as you can, when you honest to God do not know how much you're gonna get in grant funds until after your budget year opens. IDEA budgets the grants aren't even approved until September, and you're already paying people who are part of the grant.
I used a plug year too for
Yeah,
budgets.
yeah,
I
but
just reported
actuals,
the
yeah,
actuals.
yeah, we're gonna have, that'll be as part of the slide deck. And we're breaking it down to the different types of grants. Cause people ask the question, you know, what the hell are we doing here?
Good, good.
It looks bad.
The thing that fooled us this last year was that there's a lot of stuff put in grants that will, when the grant expires, they're
Yeah.
trying to move over to the budget.
Yeah.
And that's.
The whole entire country, Steve, yeah, yeah.
It happens.
Yeah.
Right?
it's,
I know in
everywhere.
my museum, it was the same thing. We've got
Right.
hundreds of
I
thousands
know.
of dollars in restoration grants. They hired all these people, and guess what? They all ran out, and we let them all go.
Creates new paradigms.
Of course, it
Creates new
created a mess.
Primes the pump, it primes the pump, and then.
Absolutely.
It creates new paradigms as to what's necessary,
Right.
even though a couple of years previously it wasn't necessary.
Right.
And, you know, people develop different paradigms, especially inside the system.
Right.
Relative to people outside the system. So,
It's something we've got to be careful of going forward.
And I understand what you're saying, and I don't wanna get into a philosophical
Sure.
discussion during a budget committee, but I'm happy to sit down and share with anybody what my feeling on the matter is. I'm not happy stuff got jammed into a damn grant, right? But we've never lived through COVID year, and you never worked in a school district after COVID year before. So if you think it's all sunshine and roses after that, I will invite you all to come on in and have a job and check it out for a month or two, because it isn't, okay? But that's something we're dealing with, and we're trying to deal with it as best we can, and certain districts have bigger problems than others.
That's this opportunity for a segue to things we're dealing with. Any other questions on that topic? Number 3? Okay, a couple of things I'd like the committee to be aware of. Do you have any update on the W-2s? Everything all settled in?
Just so now,
Have everybody had the opportunity to get them electronically or get them picked up at the office, so everybody should have them.
Good.
mine was right.
Last year's W-2s were sent out.
it's because you got the same one.
Yeah,
It's 'cause you got the
they were
same number.
incorrect. Having a light in the system, yeah. So-
But it's
I was like,
remedied.
not for us.
No.
I'm not getting it.
It's for the teachers and all of the people employed, yeah.
Yeah.
Here's that what happened was the 2022 data
Right.
got printed on the 2023 W-2 forms.
Okay.
Ooh. It was the right data for the wrong year.
There was no stress in my house. We should just said,
So
"Oh,
if
they're
you're
gonna
someone-
fix it. They have to.
If
So
you
don't worry
your
about it."
salary didn't change, such as a board
So no
member,
stress.
that's why it would be right on a board. member.
I'll have another latte.
That's
But
right.
that was coincidence, not.
Here's another glass of wine, no stress. It's no big deal.
Okay,
Good.
Yeah.
W-2s are fixed.
W-2s are
Hey,
fixed,
it
and I
is.
believe they've already been reissued out.
Better be right,
Yeah.
There's W-2Cs.
W-2Cs, yes, yeah.
because not only is that reported to the teacher or whoever, but it's reported to the IRS.
Well, she
Correct.
might not have submitted that, I don't know.
Correct, it has to be submitted by today, but you just simply resubmit
Yeah.
a 941C or a W3C transmittal. I'm very familiar, I've done them for years.
The nightmare would
My
have,
accountant said, no
had it
problem.
not been caught, people started filing their taxes.
No.
for that, and
Ain't gonna change your tax rate.
Done.
So, yeah, another item to bring up to the committee, just to be aware of, it's not an action item, but, I received a call today from Scott Farr, Director of River Valley Technical Center in Springfield, Vermont. He has a concern that is to do, he feels, with a reaction to the pressure we put on the budget. So that's how it relates to the budget committee,
Really?
something to do with programming and allowing students to go to RVTC for a program. It's something I can email the committee.
Aren't there state rules on that?
I think that,
That there can't be a replication in New Hampshire?
well, no, it's not, I don't think it's that. I
No.
think I think that email needs to get forwarded to the school board chair
To the school board chair.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think.
and the superintendent.
and
There's a long history there with the state of New Hampshire.
They were CC'd.
Okay.
But the state of New Hampshire does pay 75% of the tuition still, yes?
Reimbursed
Reimburses 75.
one
So
year
they,
lag.
obviously, since they're paying so much, I understand why they wouldn't want their money flowing out of the state. It's a shame because you'd really like to think it's the kids that, but I get it.
Well, there's a long-standing discussion that occurred there and they can't. There's some agreements that are in place that they can't mandate certain things.
Who was that gentleman?
Scott
Scott
Farr.
Farr,
Of what program?
River Valley Tech Center.
Oh,
Center.
so
Yeah.
he's
RVTC.
from Vermont, he's not a state of New Hampshire.
No,
He's the director, I think, at
He is.
RBTC.
I know.
So I'm not controlling all the information.
Yep.
Anybody who'd like to be kept in the loop on that, you're welcome to message me individually.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else to come before this meeting?
I had a question. So Steve and Steve are stepping down.
Well,
One of
question too.
you are the Walpole rep, and then one of you is an at-large member. So, obviously Walpole would elect their own rep, but the at-large member,
All the members are voted on at large. To be eligible to run, Steve's position would have to be a Walpole resident. But all 5 towns will vote.
vote on the resident, okay.
Yeah, and even if
This is my
Walpole votes against that particular candidate, but the district as a whole votes in favor, that candidate still wins.
That also applies to the school board. by the
Yeah,
way.
and the school board, yeah, exactly. It's
Okay.
at-large vote.
Everybody's voted at large.
So Steve, you were an at-large member?
Last year, I was the whole rep and he was at-large, and this year we switched.
So,
I'm sorry. go ahead.
and so, but then the same thing, so then we need just an at-large member that can reside in
Anywhere.
any town.
Which could still be Walpole, because
Okay,
That was my
yeah.
question.
so we need one that's Walpole specific and one that could be Walpole, but could be any.
Was the young man stepping down too? Oh.
Ahmed
Yeah,
is
then you
staying
got
on.
two
Well, he's
He's
got
just not gonna be the
She's
secretary.
not gonna be set.
We discussed it and
Yes.
he is going to remain the
You
secretary.
think-
Find someone
Ahmed,
to
you
run.
can correct me if I'm wrong, but we are going to, with the understanding with, there'll be a little less rigor and
Absolutely, just got very, take a break.
Yeah. find
Like,
out.
most important stuff is emotions, we're taping them anyway.
But yes, so we will have 2 new committee members. More to say on that, Amanda?
No, I just wanted clarification as to what the process was and how we were voting and, so no. If those seats, sorry, I said no, but now I have another question. So if those seats, if nobody runs, because
Yep.
Friday is the last day to put your name in, and I don't know if anybody has put their name in.
Probably not.
What happens after?
The chair, just point.
Well, no,
No.
just as Ahmed was seated, he won on a write-in basis.
Right.
Right,
It goes
If
out
the
first.
person who wins on a write-in basis turns the position down, then the remaining members of the board pick whomever they see fit as long as they meet the criteria. You don't have to pick the number 2 vote getter. You only have to seat the number 1 vote getter if they want. And I can tell you right now, on the outside chance I win on a write-in basis? The answer is no.
And I will confirm that as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
So don't write us
Shouldn't
in.
waste my vote, right?
No.
So,
don't.
right,
You can
and then I
try.
think there's a whole nother section of layer of information if neither one of those things happen.
Okay, and so our contact for that would be Leroy, is that who we would go to for that?
Yep,
Is he running again? I'm just curious.
Yeah, he knows
Because I
the
saw
rules.
that.
It's a silly thing too that should be changed.
I think it then, I think if this committee doesn't do it, Gabe, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it then goes to the select boards of the town.
But what if it's an at-large member?
It may be Leroy who does it.
I'm sorry, you
Alright.
lost me there. The remainder of the board appoints them, just like the school.
On
far
the
as I know.
budget committee, I
far as I
might
know.
wanna check that, cause
Yeah.
there's a couple of laws going around right
Right.
now.
Okay.
Okay, we'll check it.
We can
We'll have,
check.
we'll have Matt Upton with us.
Yeah, it's the best of my knowledge.
Deliberative, we can
I'm
ask.
gonna tell you it's with certainty.
Leroy might know also.
I'm sure you
He appointed us all personally, because that's the law.
What
But-
position's available for school board? I saw.
The same too.
They follow each other.
All and,
so-
and one at large.
Oh,
So it's Alyssa's and Jennifer's.
Well,
you're at large?
yes, but is Jennifer's appointee,
Yeah.
But it also
she has to run
happens-
anyhow, but it happens to line up, okay.
Correct.
So she'd have to run regardless, but in this case, it lines up. So
Okay,
she'll get a 3-year seat.
with that discussed, the only thing I have left, I would like to take a straw poll. Just a preemptive straw poll to support my staying chair through the next year. It's not a binding vote, but,
I don't want it.
well, you're not eligible.
I know. Well, if.
I think that's a little early, don't you think?
If
Why would you
represent-
want a straw poll us now on that?
Representative.
I don't need a vote now, but at our next meeting, I don't like to get with the first meeting of the new term,
Is when we would vote.
we would vote, and I would expect to be considered most eligible, being a new person to come on, but the will of the committee should be made clear, and I'm willing to step aside if the committee felt that I wasn't doing the service that whatever the new at-large member could do, if we wanted to strike a new course, that's a matter of straw poll, and I would step aside. So at our next meeting on the 28th, February 28th, I would like to include that straw poll. moving forward.
You can, but I also think too that we're not gonna be, to Steve's point, we're not gonna be the committee that is here
Correct.
in the after
I don't know why the
March.
two of us would.
Right, so their vote is,
Yeah.
so it's different, right? It's different because you're gonna have two people on the committee.
So we
So,
put it on for the first one in March.
yeah, we can put it on for there, but the other.
He
thing-
wants to know ahead of time.
Yeah.
Right, but I think the other thing too is that we wanna look
So
at.
Biden and Trump.
But I think the other thing that we wanna look at here is this is gonna be the third year this committee has been reinstated. So what makes
Actually, I think
sense
the
and what
first
do we
meeting
want? Because we don't want it to be. Or do we want, I shouldn't say we don't, because I don't know what the will of the committee is. But we want to look at it to say, okay, How- how long do we want a chairperson? How long do we want a secretary? How long do we want a treasurer? And is there value in
Augmenting that.
creating those rotations? So I think that,
Different than like the select board, right? The first meeting after the March election is opened by the secretary.
It depends, because with school boards, sometimes the first meeting is opened by the superintendent.
Okay,
Which,
Yeah.
ours
yeah.
would be opened by Leroy.
Or the secretary. It depends on what's in the committee.
Yeah,
Right. By law.
Yeah,
because essentially. your-
I'm not
your
sure
term
when-
has ended.
correct.
So-
When the year ends.
so we need to, for February, then we also need to pull what those rules are. so we
Yeah,
know
that's a
Yeah.
good idea then, Gabe. Yeah, let's do that. We'll ask for the
I thought we
rules.
had a copy of them at one.
I'm sure we
And
do.
Yeah, and, last year's
Yeah, we'll go
binder.
to March, we need to end
I got
with
it. I can't.
What do we call those rules?
Budget committee RSA.
Yeah.
Something.
It's the,
And we actually have an email with them all attached.
I know I have the
RSA
one that tells us
195.
our responsibilities, but it doesn't say anything about
Right.
terms, elections, and how, who and how can run.
I
I was
think
only
the-
told that by Leroy, so I
I
don't.
think the NHMA book,
Leroy.
I know. Listen, I have a Kari and a Carrie on my finance committee, both of them, Kari and Carrie. And inevitably I call them the wrong name. It's great. So, I think they address that in the NHMA book,
Okay.
so we can get a copy. I'm trying to get to my other email, but for some reason it's not letting me in.
Is this pertinent to this discussion or just for review?
No, I think it gives you the role and authority of the budget committee. I think it might be in there.
Oh, gotcha. Well, we can find out
Yeah.
in March,
yeah,
coordinate, or
Yeah.
for February.
right, because then we would get elected, those of us who are up for election would get elected town meeting day. And then our next meeting would be the end of March.
You want these back,
Right.
let's-
Am I,
No,
am
that's
I doing my timeline right?
Rick, I have 2 years left. You
Yeah.
got 2 years
Happy
left.
New Year's,
You
Glenn.
have 2 years left, Mike?
You guys are awesome. It's gonna be amazing the next two.
We hope so, next
I
year.
have one
I
year
think I
left.
might have
business
one year- I
practices.
might have 1 year left off.
What?
Yeah, because that would make
Because,
sense for.
Do that 1 year
Because of the
left.
stagger,
Oh,
yeah.
It would make sense for all of us. I think
Just making it very
every year.
clear.
every year.
All of
two
us, I
people.
give her one
Every
year.
year. So you and I are on the same year.
Gotta get
Good.
elected.
Is there anything else to come before this meeting? 7:42,
Nice, you guys are very efficient.
we'll declare without objection, we'll declare ourselves adjourned.
Adjourned.
Everybody object?
So moved.